Okay, hi all, this is Vinod, and so let's continue from where we left last time. So we have imported the CSV file, and I have opened my Jupyter notebook. So let's continue. Uh, okay, so importing data without choosing an index column. So let's say we want to import a CSV file without mentioning which column would be the index column. And once we import the CSV file, so all the columns by default became the data frame columns. Yeah, and the integers are used as the label. So if you don't specify any column as the index, then pandas assign 0 to n minus 1 as the index number. Yeah, and it creates a range index object. Let's check. So let's say if df is my data frame, and if I need to check df dot index, which gives me the row, so it tells me that it's a range index, starts from 0 and stop at 54330, and step is equal to 1. And if I check um, the type of df, so it tells me that it's a data frame. Yeah, okay. So that's a range index. Yeah, by default. And let's say Python we also have a range method. Yeah? Let's say if I have got range 7, and if I assign this to x variable, and if I hit enter, and in order to read the value of x, so what I do, I put a list. So this returns me all the values as a list, and I get the values from 0 to 7, 0 to 6, sorry. Yeah, and if I check the type of x, so it gives me a range. Yeah, so that's the difference between the Python default list operation, which have applied on the range. So there the type of the object is range, and in data frame the default uh, the the value that it assigns from 0 to n minus 1, the type is range index. Let's go further. Okay, so far we have seen the dot location, dot location method. Yeah, let's check out the iloc method. So basically iloc stands for iloc stands for integer location. Reason being, where we don't specify any column as the index, the default index is being treated as an integer value. Yeah. Um, so if we need to refer uh, any I mean, if you need to apply any operations on on a data frame which is not hasn't specified um, any index column, so we use the iloc method. So this iloc exclude the last value. Yeah. For example, if I, so df is my data frame, and if I apply this iloc method on to extract the values from 0 to 6, which is a slicing method. So I get value from 0 to 5. Yeah, so basically it has excluded the last row, which is 6th row, but the log include the last value. So that's the difference between log and iloc. So if the similar operations I perform using dot log method. So it retrieves me all the rows from 0 to 6. So that is the main difference between ilog and log method. Okay, let's go further. How to set the column index after reading the CSV file. Let's say if I have not specified any index column, while at the time of reading the data from the CSV file into a data frame. Now I want to specify, after importing has been done, I want to set the index column. So before that, let me read the data df. Let's say I want to specify title as the index column. Yeah. So what I will do, I will write df dot set underscore index. And I will pass on the name of the column that I want to set as a index column. Let's say in this case title. If I hit enter, so you can see the title has become the first column, and it's the column index. Yeah. So if I ask you what is the name of the index, so name of the index is title. Initially the index has no name, right? Because if you see, if I put df again, though it has 0 as the column index, 0, 1, 2, but it doesn't have a column for this column index. So by default, we don't have a column index, column name defined for this column index. But once we set the column index using set index property, so then we can see the title has become the name of the column index. So initially the index has no name, as we have seen when we read the CSV file. But once we set the column using set index, so we can see the title as the column index name. Let's go further. To select single column using dot notation. Okay. And if we select any column, so you can select any column using a dot notation. And this method is called the attribute access. This process or this functionality is called attribute access. So if you sort of refer any column using a dot notation, so let's say if sentiment is one of my column, if I want to get the data for sentiment column, so what I do, I put a df dot the column name, and if I hit enter, I get the sentiment data. So this is called the attribute access. If I refer any column using dot notation, so that is called the attribute access. Yeah. Okay, let's go further. Now what is the benefit of using attribute access? So why do we use attribute access? You can get all the series method after placing another dot and pressing tab. So what does it mean? So for example, I put df and then followed by the column name, and if I put dot and press tab, so whichever method, series method which are applicable, I get the entire list over here. So that is the benefit of using the attribute access. example name, yeah, sentiment. So you can access the series method, yeah, by putting a dot and pressing a tab for any specific column. So if you're using indexing operator, as I said, indexing operator is nothing but your bracket, then it does not show up. For example, if the similar operations I perform using df, but I pass on the sentiment column in a bracket, still I can get the values, but if I put a dot and press a tab, I can't. I can't get the series method. So that is the difference between if you use the indexing operator and if you don't use indexing operator. Let's go further. Yeah, the biggest drawback of dot operator is that you cannot use the column having space. So that is the only drawback. So for example, if you see the full text is one of the column in our data set, in our data frame, but since it got a space between full and text, we cannot use this notation, which is df dot uh, full text. That's not right. It's invalid syntax. Even if I put a bracket, sorry, apostrophe, even if I try to access, it's still invalid. Yeah. So that is the only drawback. So wherever you have got a space between the column name, we can't use the dot operator. Okay, let's go further. Selecting the same column twice. So with the help of this indexing operator, you can select same column multiple times. So for example, you want to select sentiment column 2 times and press enter, you can do that using the indexing operator. Yeah. Okay, now since we are at the end of our session on pandas, let's do a quick recap. So both series and data frame are container of data. So we have seen that a series don't have a column and data frame have a column name. A data frame is tabular data because it gives me a tabular kind of view where you can also see the column name. A series is a single dimension of data because once we apply any series operation, it only gives me the series only applicable once we retrieve a single column. Yeah, we cannot extract multiple column and still call it as a series. That's not possible. To get multiple column, either we pass the two column as a list and that will give me a data frame but not a series. Three component of data frame are one is the row index, second is column, is your column name, and third is your data and values that we see. Each row and column can be referenced by its label and its integer location. So we can, as you have seen, we can refer to any row or column by its label or its integer location. Three ways to select subsets. One is the indexing operator, second is using the lock method, and third is the integer location method. Indexing operator refers to this bracket notation. Series has two component. In series we don't have a column, that's why it only has index, which is for the row position, and the data and values. It has no columns. Dot lock, in this we refer the column or the row by label. Yeah. For example, in the DF frame, if I need to refer uh, the row label 0 and the column which is sentiment, so I access this using the label. Yeah. So if I do this, I think I should be able to get df 0. Do I have df data? Let's check. Okay, and I can get the value df sentiment, sorry, my mistake, df dot lock. You can see, so that's the value of sentiment at 0 label position. Yeah. Dot lock, row selection, column selection. Yeah, that's the way we write row and then column selection. iloc, which is being used by the integer location. So for example, in the similar operation I need to do using iloc. So instead of 0, which is this position, and sentiment, let's say, is at which position, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is the position for sentiment. If I do 6, I press enter, I get negative. Yeah. If I do this at column number 5, I get the URL. So the column position starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how you read it. Data is normally imported without setting an index. So once, so by default, whenever the data we read from a CSV file, and if you don't specifically specify any column index, so the label, the column index comes as an integer value from 0 to n minus 1. That's how we have seen it. And we use set index to set the column as an index. Yeah, let's say if I want to set the sentiment column as the index column, so what I do, I put set df dot set index and I pass sentiment. No, that's wrong. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, so you can see sentiment is the index column now. Okay, use dot operator to select a single column. That's we have seen it. If we need to select any single column, we can use the dot operator as well. So I think we have covered everything in Pandas data frame, and please post your questions if any. I would be happy to help, and thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for your time.